In this video, we're going to keep building the speed reading application we started in the other video. So I've given my computer a rest now. The fan has stopped complaining so much and I'm ready to try some more things. So basically in the last video, we got to this point where the kind of general idea of the functionality works. We're able to supply a list of or I guess just a chunk of text, and then split that up into an array of words, and then have those words loop through on the screen at, I think it's currently like 1200 words a minute or something like that. So in this video, we're going to focus on making this a little bit nicer. So we're going to make it look a little bit better, and we're going to add in controls to start and stop the playing of the text, and also to perhaps change the speed at which the text is cycling through as well. So we'll start off by making this look a little bit nicer, I think. So I'm going to get rid of that button first because we don't need that anymore. Since we're going to control everything through just with taps, we're going to start and stop with tapping. Then we don't need this to trigger that start reading function. So I'm going to delete that. And I guess we'll add just some basic functionality for now. We'll make we'll trigger the start reading function with a touch start event. So I'm just going to add a host property to this component here, which will allow us to listen to events on the host component. And we're going to listen for, let me just fix the tabbing there. We're going to listen for the touch start event, and when we detect that, we're going to trigger we'll trigger the start reading function. So we'll save that and we'll see if that works. It doesn't seem to be working when I'm tapping here. Let me check that this is actually emulating touches. Actually, that might be happening because our component is probably not. Yeah, it's a currently it's 0 by 0 pixels, so that's not going to show, well, there's nowhere for us to click, obviously. So what I might do, we're going to have this taking up the whole content area, I think. So we'll probably just set it to width and height 100%. So if we come into the speedreader.scss file here, we'll add some styles for it. And I've mentioned this in videos in the past. I usually just surround everything with an iOS and MD selector to make the rules more specific, which means that these rules are more likely to beat out Ionic's own CSS styling if there's sort of clashing rules there. So we'll just add a width 100% and a height 100%. And then we'll just check that that's all good. Okay, so that's still 0 by 0 there. If we check in the computer properties here, if you just look at the display, A, B, C, D, so it's currently set to display inline. So we're either going to want to set this to, we can set it to block, which should, yeah, that makes it take up the whole area. I'm actually going to use flex display though, and I'll show you why in a minute. I'm going to use that to align our counter into the center of the screen. It's easier to do that with a flex layout. So we'll go with that. But you can see now that it's occupying most of the screen here. And I'm also going to, well, I'll make sure I include this display flex in here. And I'm also just going to remove the padding as well on that content area. So we'll try that again now. So we'll double check our speed reader component, get that up there. Okay, it occupies a whole space now. So hopefully if we click, or tap rather, that touch start event triggered the text to start scrolling through. So what I might do now is style this a little bit so that we can have it displaying perhaps a bit bigger and also in the center of the screen. So we should be able to just, since we're using this flex layout, if I just do justify content center, you'll see that puts that in the center of the screen there horizontally. And then we can also use align items center, and that's going to put it in the center vertically. And then that's a bit small, so we'll probably also want to bump up the font size a bit. Let's try 1.5 Even 2.5. Yeah, that's probably good. And I might remove the header. I don't think we'll need to use that. Yeah, not sure. We'll just remove it for now, and then if we need it later, we'll put it back in. And so I'll dump those styles into SCSS file for the component here. It's all out of whack. There we go. Oh, and that's right, I was going to remove the header. Okay, so we have a nice empty white screen right now, which won't be the best for in terms of usability, but we can do something about that later. But basically, if we just tap on the screen now, touch start event, will trigger our text to start displaying. And I'm going to tone that down a bit. I set the speed really high just to see what it looked like. We'll set that back to, what was it? That was 300 words per minute. I'll calculate it again. So if I want to display it at 300 words per minute, I have to do 60 seconds divided by 300. Yeah, so 0.2 seconds, which is 200 milliseconds. So we use that again. And whilst we're at it, I figure we'll give a nice color to the background rather than the white we have now. So let's go with what's easy on the eyes. Probably something a bit darker, maybe. Let's go with this turquoise. So I'm going to grab that and put that in the theme, the variables. We can just set the background color variable to our turquoise color, and then we'll probably want to change this and make the text for that white, which I think will be a bit easier to see. Cool, so I think that works pretty well. So there's a bug which I just accidentally discovered. Every time I click, it's starting a new interval, which is kind of having this effect of speeding up the text, and that's kind of messing everything up. So let's deal with that now before we forget about it. So basically when we don't want this start reading function to trigger again if it's already been triggered. So we're just going to keep track of a playing flag. So we'll set that to false, and then when we start reading, we'll just set that to true. So we'll check that if this stopped playing, or rather we'll do if it's not playing, we want to run this function. So if it's not playing, we'll start playing it, and we also want to set this playing flag to true. So now if we click it once and click it again, that function won't run twice, or at least hopefully it won't. So now if I click, and I'm going to click again and again and again and again, and it's not going any faster. So it looks like that's sorted now. And why don't we also now put in the stop reading function? So what I want to do is on a touch end event, when the user stops touching the screen, I want to stop it. So we'll set up a listener for a touch end, and then we'll trigger the stop reading function. And when that happens, we want to clear that interval. So first we'll set this dot, we'll clear the interval first. So we'll do clear interval, this dot text interval, so that's going to stop the text from playing. And then we'll just set this dot playing back to false, which will allow us to start it again if we want to. So let's jump into the browser now and give that another go. So basically what I want to happen here is when I hold down on the screen, it's going to play the text, and when I let go, it is going to stop. So I'll try that now. Obviously it's going to be a bit hard for you to tell what I'm doing, but I'm clicking now and I'm still holding, which is why that silly thing pops up. But if I let go, actually that's going to cause problems. In the browser here, the holding down triggers that pop-up menu, which is messing with the app here. But if I just do it quickly, letting go and touching and letting go, you can see that it's starting and stopping as I do that. But if I hold down for too long, then this pops up and then we miss that touch end event. I don't know if there's a way that I can turn that off or not though. I think if I do it in here, yeah, if I'm not in the emulator, then it's not technically a touch event anymore. It's a click event. So when you're not in the emulator, it doesn't trigger that thing. So just to test, I might just change these to, I could change them to mouse down and mouse up. So I'll do that just to test, and then we'll change those back at the end. Okay, so now if I hold down with the mouse, it starts playing, and now I'm about to let go now, and it stops playing. So for as long as I hold down, the text will start scrolling through. I wonder if the mouse down event works through the emulator. So I'm just going to change these back now, and we'll try and work around that issue with the pop-up. I don't know if I'm going to see if I can turn that off or not. So I couldn't find how to turn that off, but I did come across a post where they gave this function here, which prevents that context menu from launching in the application. So we're just going to dump this in here now. That'll stop the menu from popping up when we're testing, and then it can just be removed later. So you can see now I can hold down without that menu popping up, and I can start and stop the text. So that's pretty good already. As I mentioned before, I do want to add controls to speed up and slow down the text, and also go backwards and forwards through the text. And to do this, I think I'm going to use some pan events. And if I remember correctly, it's either the vertical or horizontal pans are disabled by default. I can't remember which, but I did a tutorial recently on a component that used pan events, and we'll try to use the same sort of concept here. So it was a sliding draw component tutorial I created, and we had to use hammer.js directly to get those pan events working, which Ionic uses behind the scenes, but for some reason vertical panning is disabled by default. So this is the bit of code that I used to handle that. So rather than adding in a listener here, we're going to add the event that I'm handling here in the ng after view init function. And so what this allows us to do is get a reference to hammer, which again is the sort of gesture listener that Ionic is using behind the scenes. And we want to set up a listener for this current element, and to do that we're using a reference to the element ref, which we'll need to add here. So we'll have to import that from the core library and then inject it as element. And then we can set up a listener for this component, and you can see we're setting up our own pan event here. We're enabling that vertical direction, and actually we'll probably need to change I'll probably need to change this to direction all, I think it is. And then when we detect the pan event, we'll pass it to the handle pan function, and that's going to allow us to do whatever we want. So let's just create that now, and we'll have a look at the event and see if we can figure out something useful to use in there. So if I've set this up correctly, we should be able to get pan events for both the vertical and horizontal directions. I'm going to not log out the text in the console where I'm doing it here. So get rid of that so it doesn't make things too messy. Okay, so if I pan to the right now, we're getting a bunch of events popping out there. And let me just check also that it works fine for the vertical pans. It looks like it is. Yeah. So if we look at this, we can see direction 1. The number indicates whether that's up, right, down, or left. I can't remember which is which. I think there might be I thought there was a string version of that. What I might do is just bring up the hammer documentation so we can check what those values actually mean. So I've got that up here. We've got to find the pan recognizer. Yeah, so there's there's pan left, pan right, pan up, pan down, and I'm pretty sure you can actually see those in here somewhere. I forget where that is though. These are the events I was looking for. So there's an additional event and it says pan up. So we can use those to see what events were a pan to the left, to the right, or down or up. So I'll trigger, so if we go pan down, if we take a look at these, and I think not all of these are recognized as a pan down event, but this one is. So we should be able to use those to detect when we get either pan down, pan left, pan right, or pan up. So what I might do inside of this handle pan event, I'll have 4 cases for those. So we'll do an if, so it's event dot additional event. So if that equals pan down, we'll do something. And we'll do one for, just copy and paste these to make it easier. Do one for pan up as well. And for pan left. And for pan right. So for now, I am just going to log out down, up, left, and right, just so we can verify that it seems to be working okay. Okay, so I've got those console.log statements set up now, so we'll jump back into here and we'll see how it goes. So if I pan down, yeah, up, left, right, yeah, so that seems to be working very well. So now all we need to do is use each of those to do something. And so perhaps we'll set up the speed first. So maybe we'll make it so panning up and panning down will control how fast the words per minute should be. So what I will do is replace this 200 milliseconds here. We'll replace that with a custom, rather a dynamic variable there that we can change, and then we're just going to have to restart this interval as well once we change that. So we'll create a new member variable, we'll call that text speed, and we'll set that to 200 by default. So that seemed like a pretty nice default to have, so that's 0.2 seconds, and we'll give that a type of number as well. So down here we'll change this to this dot text speed, and then in the pan up event here, I guess perhaps we'll just increase it by 1, because a lot of events get fired off, so that's going to increase pretty quickly as you scroll. So we'll just increment that by 1, and then we're going to call the start reading function again. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have to just modify this so that we can still use this even if it is playing, because as we're panning, it's going to be the text is going to be playing, because obviously if we're panning, then we are touching the screen. But we also don't want to be creating heaps of intervals that are overlapping each other. So we're going to have to modify this so that it instead clears the interval and then creates a new one. So I don't think we really even need to use the playing flag at all now, unless I'm forgetting something, but I'll try. We'll just comment it out for now. Just in case we do need to bring it back, but I'm going to get rid of all of this. And at the start, whenever this is called, we'll just always clear the interval first, and then we'll create our new interval. So we'll just call clear interval this dot text interval. That's probably going to complain because originally we're going to be passing in undefined. I'll just see if that does complain or not. But we might first have to check if this is undefined before trying to clear it. So we'll just refresh this and then see if our normal functionality works. So if I click now, it looks like it does still work anyway. So now let's try to pan up, and we'll see if it increases the speed or if it just breaks everything. So it looks like the pan, when we pan, things just seem to stop. And it looks like it's frozen where it is now. So something's going wrong there. Let's see if we can figure it out. So I'm not really sure what's happening. So what I might do is when these events are being triggered, I'm gonna see when these are being triggered. Basically, it might be that the touch end event is getting triggered when we pan, perhaps. So I'm just gonna log out, start reading here, and stop reading here. And then if we need, we can dive into more details about what specific events are triggering them. But the only thing that can trigger this stop reading event is the touch end event. So I'm going to hold down again and then scroll up. I'm not seeing what is happening here. Oh, this is obviously an issue. Setting it back to the text 0 here. We'll have to set this to the index. So if I do set the index originally to 0, and then we'll use this dot index for that. So we should be able to, I think, just get rid of that actually. Let me just check. Because we don't, every time we restart this, we don't want to set it back to the first word again. So let's see what happens now. So as we scroll up, yeah, so as we're panning, it seems to pause, but then once we stop, everything seems to go back to normal and it keeps scrolling through. So I guess we just need to see if that pan speed is increasing. Actually, it'll, that's decreasing the speed as we scroll up. It's increasing the time of the interval, which means it's going slower. So I might switch that actually, because I think it makes more sense to scroll up to go faster. So we'll just change that to decrement by 1, and then we'll make the pan down increment by 1. So as we're panning down, this value increases, which slows down the speed of which that function is running. So it has the effect of decreasing the words per minute. So we'll save that and give it another go. We might need to change how quickly that speed changes, but I feel like it's probably about right though, because you don't want drastic changes in speed, I don't think. So we'll play it at about 200 words per minute, or whatever it was that we set it to, 300 I think. And then I'll scroll up, and that should make it faster, but you can see it pauses there as we do that. Yeah, so that's certainly way faster. And if we go back to around the middle again, it should be more or less where we started, and if I scroll down, it should get much slower. And it seems like that is working. Now, ideally what I want to happen here is, as we pan, I'd love for it to keep playing. But the problem is that every time we get a pan event, we're clearing the interval and then resetting it. So it sort of has the effect of pausing it, because this interval is constantly being cleared. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, to pause the text as you're adjusting the scrolling speed. We'll leave it as that for now, and yeah, if we have time later, perhaps we'll come back and come up with a solution for that. But it does seem to be working okay, so I'm going to leave it like that for now. And now the only other, I guess, main challenge we have left is giving the ability to go backwards through the text. So we probably don't need the pan right event, because the text goes forward by default anyway. But if we pan to the left, perhaps we do want to give the ability to reverse. And so perhaps for that we can just decrease the index by 1, and then also trigger that start reading again. So I guess the that pausing effect will probably come in handy here, because it will allow us to better go back and pause on things to get back to the bit we actually wanted to view. And actually I can probably get rid of that, because we won't be using it, I don't think. So we'll see how that behaves. So if I hold down now, the text is playing, and if I pan to the left, we don't get to see, I think we've gone into negative indexes, I think, is the problem here. Let me just add a check in here to make sure that the index is above 0 before decreasing it. Okay, so let's try that again. I'll hold down and I'll wait for a little bit, and I'll pan to the left. And so it does as I scroll there, it does cycle back through to the start. So that first word is what. So if I pan to the left, it gets back to that eventually. Let me just try to scroll just a little bit. I think it might be an issue where I guess there's too many pan events, so it's kind of going back too quickly. And it is also hard to see because you don't actually see what you've scrolled back to until you stop panning, and then it just skips back to that word. So yeah, I guess that whole pausing problem we're facing isn't really good here after all. So what I might be able to do instead is I'll do the same thing. We'll still do it like that, but as well as just setting the index, I'll also set the word. So we'll change this dot word to the new index. So do this dot text, this dot index, and so that's going to change that word sort of manually for us rather than waiting to do it in this interval. So we'll save that and give it another shot. Okay, so I'll hold down on the screen again, we'll let it go for a little bit, and now pan to the left, and we can see the words as we scroll back now. But yeah, you can see that it does go quite fast, it's very sensitive. So let's take a look at the event again, the pan events, or the pan left event, and I'll see if there's something in there that I can use to not run that function so frequently. Hopefully there's some kind of maybe distance, like amount that we want to pan before triggering that. And if we can use that, that could be an option. So we'll take a look at these. So we do have a distance property here. I don't know if that's distance since the last event was emitted. Let me do some really small pans here. Actually, there is an overall velocity. I don't know why I didn't see that. That might be a better option to use. So we're moving in like a negative direction here, but you can see that is very low. So in that case, we might not want to trigger it. But if I sort of pan left really fast here, let's check. So overall velocity there's 0.19, 0.18, 0.18 again, and let me do some small ones again to see what that's like. Yeah, it's 0.01, so maybe if the overall velocity is above 0.1 perhaps might be good. So we'll add another if statement in here. We'll just add another statement into that same one, or another condition rather. And so we'll do if math.abs, which is the absolute value of the overall velocity. So basically we're just ignoring the fact that it's negative. We're just treating this as 0.01. So if that is greater than 0.1, we'll run it, otherwise we will not. Okay, so get this playing again and we'll scroll back. Yeah, I don't think that's the solution to it. It seems to if we pan slow, which is probably how we want to do it, nothing happens because it's not above that velocity. But then if we get to the speed that we need, it just scrolls back really fast anyway. So I don't think that's the solution to it. I think what the solution may be is perhaps keeping track of where we last triggered the function, and maybe we use this distance value to see where the last event was and where the new event was, and if it's too close perhaps we don't do that. Yeah, I'm not really sure without having to think about it what the best approach would be to give a sort of nice slow and smooth scroll backwards through the text, but we do have it working. Obviously we got speed increases and decreases by scrolling up and down, and we can also scroll to the left to go back through the text. I might just get rid of this actually. So I will do like I usually do with these sort of impromptu videos where I don't really have any plan. I will do a blog post afterwards once I've had a bit of time to think it through a little bit rather than just diving into things and doing the first thing that comes into my head. So I'll think about those particular issues that are kind of left over in this application, and I'll write about that in the blog post if I come up with anything. But yeah, overall, we've pretty much achieved what we wanted to do. We've got a bunch of text that can be pulled in. We can scroll through it at different speeds, and we can also loop back through that text. So I'm happy with where we've got to in this video. And yeah, if you are interested in, I guess, the final product, keep a lookout for the blog post whenever that comes out. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.